All right, greetings and welcome to another episode of the Sovereign Lounge. We have your hosts, Yamin Fouzi and Round the World Man here to bring you some news, information, and analysis from the world of investment migration. Now, today, we want to talk about the Schengen Zone, and specifically access to the Schengen Zone. Is Schengen Zone access overrated? Yamin, let's see what you have for us today.
All right, so this is a very it's a good question, I think, to ask if Schengen zone or Schengen access is overrated. Like, does it have any substance these days? With the multipolar order. And I'm gonna be very honest. This idea is not original from me. I have seen it from other people in this circle talking already about this before, but it hasn't been really talked about in the sense of the recent news that has been coming up. And I think it really goes in well with what happened recently. So to give you a little bit of an idea, so in the citizenship by investment space, the Schengen access is always like the golden cow when it comes to this. This is why the Caribbean passports are so popular to market as well. And I mean, a lot of the investment migration companies or RCBI advisors, they base around the marketing entirely around, oh, you get Schengen access. But no, I live in the Schengen zone. I live in Switzerland. I'm a Swiss citizen as well. And I'm starting to think about, okay, well, is Schengen access really that important these days anymore? Back in the days, the best universities, or a lot of the best universities, are in the Schengen zone. You have lots of work opportunities. It's a huge area of 700 million people living there. So there is a lot of substance to it. I agree with that, but does it still hold true? And what happens if one of these citizenships that you acquire or invest in lose Schengen access? Does it have like zero purpose at all? And with you, Chris, this is a very critical data, because it has already happened in the last couple of years, and very recently. I'm going to give you an example here with if I read up here with Vanuatu. Vanuatu has lost Schengen access.
No.
It used to have Schengen.
Yeah, so now, so for our valued viewers, Vanuatu is, of course, a Pacific island nation that, as Yamin says, has lost their Schengen access in recent years.
Yeah. Vanuatu used to have, until 2022, it used to have visa-free access to Schengen, but the EU was like, no, we don't have this. We don't want to have investors getting a second citizenship and then having access to the Schengen zone because of this new passport. Also, a little bit of background information here is that Vanuatu and the Caribbean countries used to have similar pricings at the date of 2022. So this is when Vanuatu was around 100,000, and the Caribbean 5, they used to have between 100,000 and 150,000. Now it has doubled since then to 200, respectively to 250,000 US dollars of minimum investment. And lots of these RCBI advisors usually say, okay, well, it's justified because you have access to the Schengen zone. And so, does it still hold true? What happens if the Caribbean lose access? And I'm going to give you here another news article by the IMI Daily, is that...
Now I want to ask a question while you're pulling that up. The Vanuatu situation, can you just clarify that? Because let's say somebody did invest into that program some years back. Now those people that perhaps were like, hey, if I invest into Vanuatu's CBI program, one perk of that was maybe at the time of their investment was the Schengen zone access. And now those people, they just have to fill out a visa application. Is that correct? Just like they would have had to do anyways, even if they're applying for the visa as a Vanuatu citizen. Am I understanding the current state of affairs there, or can you clarify?
Correct, yeah. So now, if you are a Vanuatu citizen and you don't have any other passports, or a passport with similar visa-free access strength, then you need to apply for a Schengen visa in Port Vila, which is the capital of Vanuatu. They have an embassy. There's a French embassy there where you can apply for a Schengen visa. You know, I've heard from people who have obtained the Vanuatu citizenship that it's a very straightforward process to get the Schengen visa because, well, there aren't many people in Vanuatu living, and it's a very remote area anyway. So, you know, at the end of the day, you still get the Schengen access. You know, there's just one step in between.
Right. The visa application is not some, fatal blocker there where they're completely prevented. It might be more difficult. I don't know what the current state of affairs are for embassies and consulates of Vanuatu, because presumably most people are not living there or spending a lot of time there. Presumably, at least, again, it's 2025 right now. That might change in the future, but if you have to physically go there to do that visa application, that is a potential barrier. But if they have an embassy or consulate or a partner embassy or consulate that you could submit that application at, let's say as a Vanuatu citizen versus something else, that probably simplifies things. But that being said, I mean, in this case, if somebody, did have that access and then, visa free as a selling perk, there's still a path forward for them. What can you say about the next data source that you have here? What else did you have pulled up here in your notes?
Yeah, so also a little bit of background information or context to be added here is that the EU has laid out a new framework for third-party countries, who have already visa-free access to the Schengen zone. That in order for these countries, to continue having this visa-free access, is that their citizens need to have some sort of substance to that country. So this legislation is still in proposal, and it will be talked about in this fall season in the European Parliament. And in response to that, the Caribbean already proactively are proposing a draft to introduce a sort of a residency requirement. So I'm going to show you this one article here from IMI Daily. And the Caribbean nations proposed 30-day residency requirement, annual CBI application cap. So they even go as far, or propose to go as far, to cap the applications, to just limit the people who can come acquire a citizenship by investment. And this draft agreement has been proposed by all 5 of the Caribbean. So Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, Nevis, and St. Lucia. And so this would require people who, in the future, when they invest into these sort of citizenship by investment programs, that they need to spend at least 30 days in the country. So this will make, well, it seems that, or in my opinion, it will make it a lot more, when it comes to this, it will become a lot more unattractive, because you need to spend some time there. I mean, you can argue if 30 days, is it 30 days per year? Is it 30 days like in the span of 5 years, like Portugal has, for example? Or is it something different? We don't know much of the details yet. I mean, the 30-day residency, it has been proposed so far. Antigua and Barbuda already has a 5-day residency requirement, which is basically just a holiday on an island at the end of the day. But they really want to have it tight, so they can be in line with the Schengen Zone regulations, or respectively the EU Parliament regulations. And this triggers the question, like, is it even worth to go or having the Schengen access, at the end of the day, if you have to go through such hoops, just to go there? Isn't there like better options at the end of the day? Maybe you could ask the people from Vanuatu, they have invested 160,000 to get the passport. Now they can no longer access the Schengen zone visa free, just out of the box or out of the passport, I would say.
So, yeah, I mean, I want
So
to pause you for a
yeah,
moment here because I have some important questions. And,
sure.
you know, in this case, since this is a really narrow topic that we're focused on today, I really want to go deep here and, dare I say, drift into, conspiracy theory or rabbit hole territory. But I do think it's appropriate because,
I'm all
again,
in for that.
yeah. I do think it's appropriate in this case because this whole Schengen visa-free situation, or say USA, Canada, these flagship branded countries, whatever it's Australia, New Zealand, whatever, it is a topic, and the Schengen Zone is a relatively new thing in the timeline of humanity. Nation states have been around for quite a while now, and of course the Schengen Zone is relatively small blip on that timeline, and but it is an interesting situation. It's obviously proven very challenging outside of the world of investment migration when it comes to just actual legal versus illegal migration, which is obviously a whole other topic. But my question to you right now is, are Caribbean island nations, or any nation that's offering CBI, are they being pressured to impose some of these residency restrictions by outside forces because outside forces are maybe concerned that people that were tax residents of, say, territories of the Schengen area are becoming citizens of other places, say like a Caribbean island nation, one of the Caribbean Five, for example, and then now essentially still getting to spend significant time in that area where they were previously maybe a tax resident, but they're not actually tax resident there anymore. And so is this kind of like what I call an elaborate play to say, if you don't want to be part of our tax scheme, we're gonna make it harder for you to use our Schengen zone as a summer playground or a winter playground or something like that. And again, I realize it's kind of a conspiracy theory style question, but can you give me your thoughts there? Because I think it's relevant here.
Right. Well, within the RCBI industry, this topic has been discussed as well. So some people, I'm not gonna name names, but the one person that I'm referring to will know what I mean. He says that the European Union is a bully, and I have to agree that I kind of agree with that statement in a sense, because they have threatened the Caribbean countries, quite a couple of times with revoking the Schengen zone access visa-free, and it seems like, yeah, Europe or the European Union is on a cash grab. They don't want capital to flee, but even then they also gatekeep it to high net worth individuals, because they know it's kind of harder to get them into the tax net, when they get a Caribbean passport and they want to spend time in Europe, etc. So yeah, I mean, you could go into this argument that the European Union is bullying smaller countries. Also, I would even go as far as, because you mentioned that the Schengen zone is a very short, in the span of humanity, it's a very short construct to be seen. The Schengen zone as it is now, Switzerland joined it in 2008, which is 17 years ago. It's not that long ago.
Right. And I'm just trying to bring that to our viewers' attention, that this is a relatively new concept.
And also, there are calls from certain countries that say we should leave the European Union. We should have our borders back. Right now, actually, there are a lot of border controls within Europe, within the Schengen zone,
and there was a lot of that during this COVID scandemic times. There was a lot.
Correct. Yeah.
There was a lot of border controls where there wouldn't have been border controls just a few months earlier or a year earlier. So it is an interesting
Correct, and
thing.
they introduce it right now. Poland is fed up with the German government apparently shoving up illegals to their border, because there's no border control. So Poland is stepping up, Germany is stepping up, France. Switzerland always has been a little bit of a border-ish type in Schengen.
Right.
much more so than the other Schengen zone countries. But there's an increasing sentiment that the countries want to have two sovereign borders. So that begs the question: well, is Schengen access overrated? What if in 5 to 10 years this whole concept will no longer exist? You could argue like this, and I think this is a very important question to ask. What is the value of a second citizenship in that place at all? And I keep telling people, look, you don't have to invest in a citizenship just because you have visa-free access to Schengen, to the Schengen zone. If that was the only thing, then there is one program that I would recommend, or a combination of a program. And I think our viewers will like this, especially the people who are thinking about investing into second citizenship. In my opinion, a second citizenship should be an insurance policy in case something happens. It should be from a country that is relatively neutral, that is relatively small, that can give you the passports delivered at you at any time without much problems. And I actually, if access to Europe is really important to you, I would say go with a golden visa. And there is one combination, by the way, or actually two combinations that work, that can get you visa-free access and even residency in Europe, and the second citizenship for less than what you can get in the Caribbean. I mean, the Caribbean, they have their use case, don't get me wrong, but I want to share this use case here with this sort of graphic.
Right. So what you're saying is that like the actually adding a residency, in one of those countries that has Schengen zone access, if that is important to somebody, then that's actually maybe a better choice than a CBI in some scenarios. It just depends on a person's individual goals and priorities. But
I mean, if you want to have access to the zone, like without them revoking this access, then you should ask the question, like, okay, well, if they can remove the Schengen the Schengen access to just one country, they can do it to the Caribbeans as well. So what is really working? And I want to show you two things here, first of all.
But back to my question for a moment there, because again, I understand I was kind of more drifting into the conspiracy theory side of things, but the idea there was that, or the summary of your answer, if I understand correctly, is that some people might actually already be, like say, a European Union citizen, but becoming another citizen that also has visa-free Schengen access, is that like essentially like that's kind of what I was getting at. So what you're saying is that like that might be an actual thing, but it's hard to say for sure.
Well, yeah, I don't have the data to back it up.
Right, and neither do I. So now you have the residency citizenship pyramid. This is a great chart from IMI. What do you have here?
I love this graphic. Yeah, I think Christian posted it. I think last year, maybe even like the end of last year. Maybe there's a time. 3rd of December here it says. So yeah, I want to get this because this is very important for people who want to invest in a CBI or in an RBI residency or citizenship by investment program. So the tourist visa is at the very bottom. This can be taken away anytime. Digital nomad visa also can be taken away. It's a fairly new construct. And then you get into the temporary residency, which is harder to take away from you. You have to screw up a lot of things to get this revoked. And the permanent residency is even harder. And then the citizenship, usually it cannot be revoked unless you have, you have committed genocide, you are or treason or terrorism, like something really serious.
Well, don't forget the one that is actually at the top of the list of some places. From what I understand, a lot of countries that have these more democratic constitutions, if somebody has, say, 2 or more citizenships, if for some reason they have served in the army of another country, that's grounds for, citizenship being canceled by the way that some constitutions are written, from what I understand. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but
Correct.
I've heard
that's true in certain countries. I mean, in certain countries it's definitely the law like this, and if
it becomes more challenging when there's obligatory or mandatory military service into countries that a person is citizen of. That then
correct. Yeah, Switzerland and France, they have like an understanding, like some sort of an agreement. Because I know some French Swiss dual nationals. They can choose which one they want to go. Usually they go to the French side because they only have to absorb 2 days of training and that's it. Instead of 150 days almost in Switzerland. Right. But so, that's beside the point.
Yeah. So some countries have treaties in place for that stuff, but that is grounds for canceling in theory there. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So what the point of this graphic, that why I'm showing this to you, is that if access is really important to you, then you shouldn't just trust on a tourist visa. You should go straight for a residency, especially if you say, okay, well, I want to have my kids educated in Europe, so they need this access there. That's a non-negotiable. So then I wouldn't just rely on a tourist visa, because, well, with a Caribbean passport, you're just a tourist. You cannot go to school just write this without having some sort of residency. So this is why you need a golden visa, there's no longer any CBIs in Europe as of July 2025. So this is the graph that I want to show. And also here a second graph, which is from my brochure here, which is a case study of a very specific combination here. So imagine you're a Moroccan citizen, which I am, as you can see here. And
so we have Panama flag, then we have the globe, we have your Swiss passport and your Morocco passport. They're the green one.
Exactly. Yeah. So imagine you're a Moroccan citizen, and you want to have access to the Schengen Zone area. Plus, you want to have another citizenship for the same price as a Caribbean passport. So I usually call this the EU Pacific combination. And it's a very great hack, because it gives you, first of all, it's consistent of the Latvia Golden Visa and the Nauru Citizenship by Investment Program. So the Latvia Golden Visa is less than 100,000 euros if you invest into a business. And also, if you add the Nauru citizenship on top of it, which is about 105,000 US dollars plus fees. So you can have, first of all, you literally have residency in Europe, in Latvia, plus you get visa-free access to all of the Schengen zone. You can just basically walk in and out. But with the residency, your kids can study in Latvia, you can go to work in Latvia, you can rent apartments, you can start a business in Latvia, whatever. You can base yourself in Latvia, and after 5 years you can get permanent residency with some requirements, and after 10 years you can even get an EU citizenship. So this is a path that can lead to citizenship, depending on how much you are invested into it. Plus you get, with the Nauru citizenship, on top of the base, the Moroccan citizenship, you have Russia access, you have the UK, you have Ireland, you have South Korea, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, many other countries as well in Latin America, in East Africa, Panama also you can get. And also by extension with the EU residency, you can also have visa-free access to other countries. So it even stacks to this. This is something that I talk about in the How to Become Sovereign episode.
That's a great episode where if you have residency, we covered in that.
Correct. By extension, you get more visa-free access. So this is the same thing with the EU residency, right? So it gives you lots of option here, and for less than the price of Caribbean. So now not only you have 2 passports plus a residency, So you are now very diversified. And I think that's the goal and the point of getting a second citizenship, or diversifying your insurance policy for yourself and for the future generations. And this is why I wanted to highlight this specific graphic here on how to stack all of this in the most efficient manner. And I think really it's a good program. Now it usually gets delivered in a couple of months. The citizenship, you have a new travel document, plus you have residency as well in Europe, if that's really what you want. Also, if you have a citizenship from a country, I'm going to show you. If Europe, if you want something similar to Europe, with the lifestyle, or even better, to be honest, if your country has an E2 treaty with the United States, you can get it for $100,000 US. You can have access to the largest marketplace in the world. So, many countries have an agreement. Argentina, Albania has, Brunei has, for example, as well. Bangladesh has a E2 treaty. Egypt as well. Many countries that you wouldn't expect, they have an E2 treaty with the United States. Even Ethiopia, if you have 100,000 to invest, you can invest it into the US. You have a non-immigrant visa. You can renew it indefinitely as long as your business is there. Many other countries, they're included as well.
Right. Yeah. This is a pretty long list right here, but also
it's very
yeah.
It's a very comprehensive list here. But I just wanted to show our viewers that it's not just Schengen. Even and not only the US, for example. The United Arab Emirates, they have fantastic universities. For example, they have tax-free lifestyle you can get in the United Arab Emirates. Malaysia also is a very modern place, a very convenient lifestyle. If you want to have the first world, you don't need to look only in Europe, to be honest. Even China is a fantastic place. Residency is a bit harder to get there, but it's a fantastic place. It's modern. You have or Southeast Asia, the emerging market, Panama as well. There's so many options there besides Schengen, and I think in this day and age, Schengen becomes much less relevant. It's an option. I'm not saying it's not an option. Mediterranean summers, I have to say, it is probably the best time to spend of the years in the Mediterranean. Don't get me wrong. Europe has a lot to offer that many other countries do not have to offer. And Mediterranean area is one of the most superior places, in my opinion, to spend time. But to center the whole life there, when it comes to taxation, when it comes to education, when it comes to starting a business, look further than just the European Union or the Schengen Zone. There's so much more that offers as well.
Absolutely. Well, Yamin, I appreciate your detailed analysis here. This is another great episode. Any final thoughts from you before we sign off?
Well, I think I've said enough here, but so...
Well, I appreciate you, and thanks to all our valued viewers for checking out another episode of the Sovereign Lounge. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you, and until next time.
Cheers.